Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone. Wow, that was a intense. I feel goosebumps. That was an intense intro. I feel like either the coffee's just kicked in or wow. But welcome to Beneath the Cowl. My name is Mo. I will be your host panelist with this amazing, incredible group of people. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and, give me a little bit of their backstory, if you will. We might have a couple of other people join in as we go along. So take it away first, whoever wants to go first.
Ladies first.
Okay. I'm AMH Cosplays. Also, my name is actually Anna. That's the A and AMH. I've been cosplaying for more than 20 years, and golly, I am also the founder and admin for Cosplay Over 40, which is how I know Mr. Mo.
Nice.
And that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
Yay. My name is Danielle. I'm Birth of the Fae. I'm actually a fantasy author. I've been cosplaying for a long time. I've actually had the honor of being on Cosplay Over 40. So thank you very much for having me. Usually I'm a DC cosplayer, but this was the first year I forayed into Marvel as Firestar. Chris Claremont actually asked me when he saw me at HeroesCon in North Carolina. He said, next time I see you, you better be in a Marvel cosplay. So the godfather of the X-Men asked me, and therefore I granted him that. So I'm really excited to be here and get into the subject.
Nice. My name is Keith. They've always said that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. With this group, I'm in the right room. I've been cosplaying officially about a year and a half now. Dressing up for Halloween and that for quite a while, but officially made the jump after going to the Metropolis Superman celebration in 2019 and hanging out with a lot of people in really good costumes, and that gave me the bug. And so last year was my first full year as a cosplayer, primarily as Superman or some variation of that, and just continuing to meet lots of great people. So thank you for letting me dip my toe in this pool.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I am standing on the shoulder of giants, as they say. You guys are all just amazing. And it is great to have this community of people that actually are, know that we're doing this for the love of our fandom, for the love of actually just enjoying what we do, and getting that feeling is it's amazing. It's actually that it's amazing at any age to have that. So I guess actually just to start off, give me a little bit of backstory on what got you into cosplay. I know Keith, we heard a little bit from you. What was the sort of lightning that hit that you were like, you know what, I'm actually going to go ahead and actually go into this. This is really cool. I want to do this.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll back up a step. The one thing I forgot to mention, just because it's cosplay over 40, I'm going to throw out that I'm 58. So started when I was 57. But what really lit the fire was, again, when I was in Metropolis at the Superman celebration, everybody that I talked there was using the cosplay for, not so much for like that escape, but as a way to do more good, give back to the community, do a lot of charity events. And that really sort of piqued that interest, turned on that light bulb. And that's the kind of things I've been trying to do. I've been doing blood donor clinics and working with our local Crime Stoppers organization at different events to promote awareness and trying to do more and more of that. So yeah, that's what really lit it for me, was being able to go out and give back to the community.
Awesome. All right. Anna, you want to go next?
Okay. I guess you can say my story is a little different because I'm a Halloween baby. So I have always been in costume pretty much. And I actually started in high school. A couple of friends and I went to a really cheap department store, got ourselves a gold shirt, a red shirt, and a blue shirt, colored the collars in black, and then we hopped on the bus to New York to hang around outside a Star Trek convention because we didn't have the money to actually go into the Star Trek convention, but From there, I mean, I went and I did Indiana Jones and I did Shira and I forget who else, and then life happened after college. So I stopped for a good long while, and then in 2002, to be honest, I think it was Halloween that got me started again, and I was like, all right, and I've pretty much been going ever since. I cosplay mainly because I love the idea of just being able to represent my fandoms, but I do also do charity events, and I also do things like comic book stores, and wherever anyone needs me, I am happy to show up.
Awesome, awesome. How about you, Danielle? What was that moment that just sort of like had the bug hit you?
Probably, I mean, I've been cosplaying, not knowing I was cosplaying necessarily, my whole life. I had the Wonder Woman underoos till they fell off, and my dad had to, make lassos and bracelets out of tinfoil so I could run around the house. But I was actually testing for my green belt in karate, and I needed just that little jolt because I was breaking boards for the first time and I was super nervous. So I made a little Deborah Winger Wonder Girl outfit to wear under my uniform. So I got like a red tank top, and I got the little sequin stars and glued them on and did the whole thing. And then I made my own little bracelets and I wore it under there just for confidence because I was so super nervous. And it's against the rules to wear anything color wise underneath your uniform when you're an underbelt. And my instructor caught it. I went to move and he was like, and he called me to the desk and he's like, come here. And I went over there and he's like, what's underneath it? And I opened it up, kind of pulled the Superman like this. And he's like, is that Wonder Woman? And I was like, technically it's Wonder Girl and it's Drusilla and it's really not comic canon. And I went into this whole thing and he's like, stop. He's like, are you wearing bracelets too? And I was like, yeah. And he just looked at me. He's like, just break the boards, Danielle, just break the boards. And I did, and I was so happy. And at that point, I just realized I wanted to keep doing this. So for Halloween, I made the cape, the Linda Carter cape, and I did the whole thing. And I was like, I need to go somewhere where I can do this and not just have Halloween. Discovered Comic-Con. And then I went as the Yvonne Craig version of Batgirl, and it lit. I saw all these people, and I was like, this is my canon. This is where I need to be. And it just took off from there.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome, and it is a great story because as like for me, my story has to do with being a lifelong geek and attending conventions, and really didn't get into it till about just about close to 10 years ago was when I had locally here, actually living in Atlanta, I went to Dragon Con and I saw what I thought was the most fun community, which were people dressing up as the characters that they love. And I have been a lifelong comic book fan. So seeing that in, live and living color, flesh and blood, it was great. And I was just like, you know what, I want to try that out. And the first year I tried it, I tried with Will Smith's Hancock.
Awesome.
So it was, I dipped my toe by doing a costume where it was regular clothes. So I was just sort of like, if nobody recognizes me, it's fine. But if they do, awesome. And the ones that did recognize me were just so welcoming and so awesome and so like, yes, that's awesome. And I was feeding off of their energy. And that just emboldened me to just do more and just be like, you know what? Next year, bigger and bolder. And then, you start adding more and more and more. And then the list just go. And then you have feels like an eternal cost plan list on top of the stuff that you've already done. So, but it's great. It's fun. And I love the community. And I love actually the kinship, to your point, Danielle, that there is, especially I think with this community. So I want to also just sort of pivot a little bit on what was the inspiration, or what did you what was the point that you said to yourself, I want to create this space, cosplay over 40. Walk us through sort of like where that came from conceptually, like and how you spearheaded that.
Okay. Well, we'd been going to conventions for a while in the Midwest, and I would see a lot of awesome cosplayers with fabulous builds or things they've sewn or things that they thrifted but look fabulous. And they were just being walked by, photographers ignoring them, people ignoring them, no one really paying attention to them. And that really, really bugged me. And it finally came to a head at a con in Ohio where there were a bunch of people who were totally being ignored. And my husband, who's a photographer, was talking to some of them. And one of them just plain out said, I only shoot pretty young things. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, well, you know what? That's ridiculous. You know, there is more to cosplay than young girls in bikinis. So pretty much that weekend, I looked online. I was like, okay, there is no group focusing on the 40-plus cosplayer. We quickly checked Instagram, we checked Facebook, we checked Twitter. Everything was cool because I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And, well, the husband filed all the paperwork with the state of Michigan. And on June 28th, we launched it. And he was actually our first cosplayer because it was kind of embarrassing, like looking at people's pictures and going, by any chance, are you over 40? Oh, good, you are. Can we highlight you? But then the word got out, and now we're almost on our 700th cosplayer, and you know, we repeat, we cycle, so we've had, gosh, at least, well, I don't know, I'd like to say about 5,000 different features going on.
Wow.
Still growing. And I love it because we've got people on every continent except for Antarctica. I'm wondering how to get one of those Antarctica scientists to dress up so we can claim all 7 of the continents.
I mean, it's a small world, and I think actually you guys are already in a trajectory to get there. I also want to, since he just jumped on right now and was just so gracious to join us, actually, Mark, how are you today, sir? Looks like amazing weather where you are. You look super chill and relaxed. Tell us a little bit about your, yourself. Tell us a little bit about your cosplays. Just give us a little bio.
Well, first of all, hey Knight, hey MH, I know these two. So, and hi, everybody else. Nice to meet you. Actually, I'm going to.
It's fine.
Okay.
You got muted.
We've been having an issue with an echo for a while, and I can't figure out what it is exactly.
I get to hear the lovely sound of my own voice.
Same.
If you figure out how I can do it and get rid of it, you just let me know. I'll follow that.
I think actually a lot of times it might be while someone's speaking, everybody else can mute. So if you guys want to try that happens with Zoom sometimes. You can just mute yourself.
That's true. So, Mark Candell here. I'm 49, and I've been cosplaying since 2012. And really, it began simply by trying to figure out what else I was going to do all day at New York Comic Con after I got all my comic books signed. I had gone, and I've told this story before, so maybe some of you have heard it. I will try and make it brevity is the soul of wit. So I had met some kids my age at the time, 12 years ago, however long that was, and we were all talking action figures, and we got on really well, and we decided to all meet at Comic-Con. And there were some artists and writers there at New York Comic-Con that I wanted to get books signed with and everything, but I'd never met the people that I was going to meet there, and it was my first New York Comic-Con. And you know, we're all introverts. So I had no idea how people were going to be when we finally saw each other in real life. And I figured, we should really do something so that we always have a way to facilitate conversation and things. And I was like, well, I'm going to Comic-Con. The Trekkers seem to have this stuff down. Maybe I'll go as my favorite character. So I quickly, I like put together something that these days, it was my very first cosplay as Dr. Doom, is my favorite character. I went. Couple of the other guys did, and as it turns out, we had a lovely time the entire day, whether I'd gone in costume or not, but we absolutely bonded over that and talked about it. What I didn't realize was I was going to get rushed by a ton of people who wanted to take pictures, and the writers and artists at Marvel were like, wow, that's Dr. Doom, and I was like, okay. And then over time, I started to learn how to do it better and better. And, you know, for whatever level of it I am now, I'm still learning things every day, but I have a great time with it. There's lots of different aspects to it, from the napkin stage to executing it to figuring out how to get eyes on it. Thank you, AMH. And, you know, just talking about it now. So that's me in a nutshell. Over to you.
That's it. And over to you. Over to you. Now back to you. And that's actually an awesome story. And I will tell you, I will repeat what I said actually right before you jumped on. I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. And Mark, I think actually I will tell you, the first time I met you, I fanboyed because I followed you for a little bit, and you did just like you did. I have a specific special place in my heart for comic book aesthetic, especially if you are replicating a classic comic book like scene. Oh man, that's, you don't even have to buy me a drink. I'm yours already. I'm 100% yours. So it's really cool to have all of you guys and you know, talk about some of the fandoms that you guys grew up with, some of the things that so far right now are so influential, such influential pieces of pop culture. I think we have a very unique sort of spin on it, our generation specifically, because I think we were the lab rats for what pop culture is right now. So in knowing and understanding that we grew up with sort of bombarded with all these different types of like movies, TV shows, commercials, all this other stuff. Wait, how do you incorporate your, you know, generational sort of information of what's in the zeitgeist into your cosplay, or how do you incorporate it into your, you know, just you know, like what goes through your thought process, if you will, when you are saying, hey, I want to cosplay this character? You know, maybe somebody won't get it because you know it's a character that's maybe actually a couple of years old. What's your thought process on that? And anybody can go ahead and unmute and jump in first.
Okay. Gosh. Well, to be honest, I've always just gone with characters that I have a personal connection with, and a lot of them are from my childhood. And there are times where people are like, oh yeah, we know Rogue, or yeah, Supergirl, or whatever. But I have decided that I'm now going to be a little more truer to my inner child, and I've actually added a whole bunch of different cosplays that date back to what I grew up with. Believe it or not, Shirley Partridge is on my list. I have already just done Ginger and Gilligan, and those are done. And I'm slowly sharing the photos from there, but I've just been going through all the shows that I used to watch. I've got Lucy Ricardo that I recently did. I'm looking at different cartoons. I mean, Super Friends, it's kind of like done because, you know, all of our superheroes are already in there. But just the shows, I mean, I even was like trying to figure out how I could do Julie from The Love Boat, but I think that might flow over a lot of people's heads. But I've just been going on Amazon Prime and rewatching all the old shows and going, who do I like on that? And, you know, if people get it, great. I think people who would get it would be our group, and people who don't get it, hey, I'm more than happy to yammer away at whatever cosplay I've done and maybe win someone over to the fandom. Who knows?
I just want to just really interject. I love the idea conceptually of a group of cosplayers going as a crew of the Love Boat. I absolutely love that. I am 100% on board with that. If you do need actually a God, I had his name right now in my head. Huh?
Isaac?
Isaac. If you need a,
yeah.
I can 100%. Oh my God, we get ourselves a nice little Vicky, a Stubing. We'll be good to go. We'll be making another run. Anybody else? You know, I mean, any other experiences, or how do you incorporate that into your
I mean, I pretty much backing up what AMH says. my cosplay's timing is about 1981 to 1994. So I started with this Secret Wars. This is what got me into comics, and I'd always flirted around with them, but comics, as we all know, are a very dense medium. So even when a kid in the 80s is jumping into them, you're still jumping into 30 years of history. Now it's even more so. So that was always very daunting to me as a new reader. And this was a nice jumping on point. You didn't need to know 30 years of stories. You knew exactly who Spider-Man was. You could get the gist of every character. They were thrown into a weird scenario, and it was a free-for-all. And from that emerged a lot of my tastes. So that was very formative for me. So I started with Doctor Doom, but then I said, well, now I want the cosplay to tell a story of something that specifically happened to Doctor Doom in this. And that was the next big jump. And then the next big jump was telling another story, because the modern stuff, I'll always be a little behind on that, because I love the MCU. I just got back from seeing the new Guardians movie. I won't talk about it. But the point is, that's happening in the here and now, and that's great. And if I want to see it, I'll turn on the TV, or I'll look at a cosplayer who's got a perfect replica of that. I like to go back to my formative time as a reader, and I like to recreate that. I like to take what I wanted always to see from the book and take it right out of the book and make it real. So that's been my thing. And sometimes, yeah, I go a little deep cut, and folks are like, well, what's that? And I'm like, that's cool. You don't have to know. It's totally good. But they also, the nice thing about cosplay, even if you don't know the character, you can appreciate the workmanship. You can appreciate what creatively you're doing with it. Whether you make a TikTok video with somebody and do a duet, or whether you make a cool edit, there are so many subdivisions of enjoying the hobby. I just find the whole thing delightful,
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. And Keith, how about you? Any what's your influence in or how do you interject that into your cosplay?
Oh, well, thanks. I was gonna let Danielle go first because she was trying to jump in there before Mark did, but if she's okay, yeah, thank you. With mine, my first real cosplay was a Spirit Halloween Man of Steel costume, because that was sort of the thing at the time, and I wore that thing to death. But when I decided to make the jump into a real costume, like I had alluded to earlier, I decided to play to my age and went after Kingdom Come Superman. And I've been amazed by the age range of people that still get it. Now, granted, it's still the S on the chest. Oh, excuse me. Still the S on the chest, but I've been amazed, young and old, that get it. So, hold on, I'm getting a little stuck here. Sorry for that. But yeah, it's been amazing the number of people that come to me and go, oh, Kingdom Come Superman, that's so cool. And then the people that aren't quite sure, and then we end up having a great discussion about that story, and it suddenly comes back to them, oh yeah. And it's just been amazing the number of people. When I was at last year's Motor City Comic Con, I ran into a lot of people playing Jay Garrick's version of the Flash. And that was kind of fun, because then we've got the same age range going, which was kind of interesting, because it was a nice older gentleman that I met in line dressed as Jay Garrick. It's one of my favorite pictures from the event because of that. But we were just having a blast, and everybody that saw it just loved the whole thing. And that really made me feel good, because that event was my first real venture out in costume, like walking through the hotel, getting in my car, driving over to the event, the venue, and then walking past all the people in line, and everybody was like, that's awesome, and just congratulating me, giving me thumbs up, loving the suit. And that just did a world of good for my fragile little ego as my first real cosplay.
We got to cater to our egos. I mean, let's call it what it is. That is cosplay. I'm 100%. I agree with that. How about you, Danielle? I'm sorry, I had cut you off earlier. I sincerely apologize for that. But come on over. Tell us.
That's okay. I kind of done the same thing with going back to childhood nostalgia. The funny thing is, I did Charlie's Angels once with a group of friends, and we did Angels in Chains. So we did the whole like kind of denim jumpsuit and did us all in handcuffs and walked around like that. And that was how we, we did the ode to Charlie's Angels, and we had the Farrah Fawcett wig, the whole thing. And we kind of pulled from those moments of, the iconic moments of Charlie's Angels, which I would still totally do again. But yeah, I pulled from, the Batman and Robin, the old Adam West shows, obviously Linda Carter, and done it that way. And that's kind of how I've jumped in. I've done more Harley Quinn probably in the last couple years, but I've done Batman the Animated Series, Harley, some video games. I haven't done Suicide Squad because to me, it's kind of building on what Mark said. Anybody can turn that on and see that, and that's cool. But I like the nostalgia of what, Batman the Animated Series. Like the first time I saw that cartoon, I was kind of like, wow, it brought me back to the Max Fleischer, kind of old Superman stuff. And so I like to build off the nostalgia more. I'd love to do a Tila Masters of the Universe cosplay. Like that's on my list of, I really want to do that and get a good Evil Lynn and run around Comic-Con doing that kind of stuff. But I like that nostalgia feel because I think that really brings it home. I've done Gal, Wonder Woman. I've done that. I think it's awesome. I had a great build. It was great. I loved it. I did it once. I haven't pulled it out. But even when they had me on Cosplay Over 40, it was, it was old Kingdom Come Wonder Woman. It was in Golden Eagle Wonder Woman, 84, which we won't discuss. It was that version. So I just like to play into the nostalgia. That's where I'll pull from more than anything. And yeah, I'm totally up. If you want to do a Charlie's Angels, I'm totally in on that, and go the original Angels.
Mark, I think that's your calling to be Charlie. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think all you have to do. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm challenging for you to build is a huge speaker box that you walk around in and just spew out.
Hello, Angels.
Good morning, Angels. Good morning,
Good
Angels.
morning, Angels.
Just your best Robert Forsythe. Just
I was gonna say I'm a very poor man's Robert Forsythe.
just do that. That's you. That is 100% you. And I'm so happy, Danielle, that you brought up actually about Dream Cosplays because I want to talk to you guys about that. So let's just, for the sake of argument, say pie in the sky. You have, money is no object. A skill is no object. You can have all the tweaks, bells, whistles, everything that you could possibly want. What is the one cosplay that you would say that's the pie? That's the one right up there. Which one is it? Which is your cosplay that you want to pick? Anybody can go ahead and jump in first.
I don't know. That's a tough one because the cosplays that were in my head that I really love, I've built them. I've built most of them, and I've got. I don't know. I get a chain of them in my head, one after another, and once it gets wedged in there, I got to pull it out. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. Maybe if I had like a budgetary, because here's the thing, I finally did charge in and do a big build. I did it for 2021 when I did the contest because I said, okay, let me go out of my comfort zone with the little bodysuits and the body armor and let me try something big because I'd done TwitchCon, and what I'd done for TwitchCon really, it was during COVID. We built a ton of stuff during COVID because we'll never, under the horrible circumstances, we had time, and we will never get rich time like that again. I just built. I built like 3 or 4 things during COVID because we could. We'll never get that type of time again. So I was experimenting with more techniques. I was learning more. When I first started in 2012, YouTube was a thing, I mean, you can go back and find 11-year-old things on how to make stilts. But at the time, I didn't use that as a resource. So nowadays, a nascent cosplayer just starting can get all the basics down in about 2 weeks. Throw a 3D printer in there, and inside of a month, you can have a movie quality thing. So I got it through little bits and pieces and experiments. And that's, so I tried it one thing. So I did a big oversized Annihilus cosplay. And that's really, I don't know if I could I would love to do an Incredible Hulk, like a real, from the old series, from Spider-Man and His Amazing. I would like to do that Hulk just one time. But honestly, that's more because my buddy Mr. Abs Fitness has such a great thing that I just want to clobber. I would just want to fight as the Hulk in the thing. That's what I want to do. So I don't know when I would make that, but that's one of my dreamers, But the thing is, everyone that so far, God bless, every single character that I love, that I've gotten in my head, I've been able to execute. So it's really, I've been lucky to be able to do that. Not everyone has the time or the resources or whatever, and life happens. I've luckily been able to pursue that unfettered. So that's what I got.
I like it a lot. I am all on board on that. So I'm actually going to pick somebody. How about Keith? What about you? What's your pie in the sky? What's the one?
Oh, gee. Well, I'm still so new to this that I'm seeing I'm getting ideas from all over the place. I still staying in my wheelhouse with Superman stuff. So if I was going to go pie in the sky with it, if I was going to make it myself, no way. I don't have that skill yet. I'm hoping to try and do something for a fall con. There was a statue released just a little while ago called the Prince of Krypton, where they reimagined Superman as a gladiator type. And I saw that, immediately went, I want to cosplay that. And I think I'm going to make that my first build. But if money, skill set, all that stuff you said was no option, then I'd want to go with a screen accurate, really well done, or properly well done Man of Steel costume, or a screen accurate Christopher Reeve costume. So nice and easy there. Stay in my wheelhouse.
Danielle, what about you? What I think you said earlier, but maybe there's another one. I don't know.
Teela's definitely Masters of the Universe. Teela's on the list, or Sorceress, like one of those Masters of the Universe, or Angela from Spawn, early Angela, like that first run of Spawn when she came out. She had a big axe and ribbons. I would love that's still like right there on there, and just have the guts to kind of pull that off, because I'm sure she's out there. I'm sure somebody's like done it. I've seen glimpses, but I've never seen somebody like pull that off, and I've always kind of wanted to tackle that.
You actually, believe it or not, you just hit a core memory. One of my first years going to MegaCon back in the 90s, and this was when cosplay was really like, a lot of creators would use them as sort of models. Like they'd hire somebody to be like, hey, you'll be Spawn, and there was an Angela there that year. You just, like I said, you just saying it right now, it was a kernel somewhere in the back of my head that you just lodged, and memories just came flooding out.
Yep.
I have seen an Angela, but I want to see your Angela.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
True.
I'm working on it.
And maybe just say the Sorceress, Teela, Evelyn, any of those, I am here, 100% here for it.
Yeah, the giant cobra headdress alone.
Exactly. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Action figure.
So you've got my whole heart, full-throated vote on that. Right. I also want to shout Beth Cosplays, who's in the chat, because she gave us a doozy. She said she wants to do an elaborate ball gown for Ahsoka with armor details.
Yes.
And I say hells to the yes, my darling.
Yes.
I know Beth too, so I can take that liberty. So thank you, Beth. Thank you for the shout out last week, evidently, when you did this this live stream. I appreciate that. Beth's all the way on the West Coast, and I always lament her and a couple of my other West Coast contacts that I've made through Instagram. It drives me to frustration that they're not on the East Coast, because we'd all be killing it right now doing stuff.
All right, Anna, what's the one?
the one, one. Narrowing it down to one. I have a Cosplan spreadsheet that has 76 entries on it right now. And at the very bottom are the ones that are highlighted in gold as my dream ones. And there's 11 of those. If I have to pick one.
We got time to go through 1 through 5. How about 1 through 5? How's that? 1 through 5.
The very top one that, I mean, I've noticed oddly, as the years progress, things that I thought were out of my reach are suddenly in my reach and I can start trying them. But there's still some things that are like, wow, you know, I don't have the skill for that yet, but someday in the future. So that one is the queen from Wizard's Chest from Harry Potter. She's the one that like stands with the sword and at the end is like going up and strikes at Ronald Weasley. So that big chess piece is the one that I would like to do is my dream one. After that, I've got Sorceress, the classic one, not the reboot one. Although the reboot one is cool, but I really like the classic one with the helmet and the feathers. And then there's 2 from a book series that I loved as a kid and still love. I was geeking about it with the comic book store owner the past weekend. It's a series called Dragonlance. And there are 2 characters that I want to do from Dragonlance. One is a character called Gold Moon, and she is kind of like a tribal princess. And the other one is an elven princess named Laurelin Talassa. And both of them have either like tribal armor or Laurelin gets this big suit of armor at the end, but she still retains a lot of elven qualities of it. So those are my 4 main ones off of my 11.
I mean, those are all fabulous choices. I'm saying that I'm 100% on board for that. I would say for me, the one is Goliath from Gargoyles. Now, there's another cosplayer actually, and I follow him, and he is what the kids call senpai. Night Mage does amazing work, and he has done it as well. But that's all, I could only wish to emulate that. Now, if again, money not being an object, talent not being an object, I mean, I would have animatronic wings. I would have stilts with actual like sort of like to stand on with the actual claws. It would be the whole 9 yards, like a great makeup job. And some of the money would go towards a fitness plan that would have me ripped by the time the con hits. I would be like it would be like, hey, from this time to it would be the Hugh Jackman. Let's call it that. It would be the Hugh Jackman. It's basically I get to have an instructor come in and like really say, you know what, that burger is delicious. However, you can't eat that. Here's some boiled chicken and some rice. That's what you're going to eat today. That's your stuff. And you're going to eat that like 5 more times today. That's what I need. And then after I'm all chiseled and whatever, I have my wings mounted and I would walk around the con and just relish in it and get some photos on some rooftop that oversees like a cityscape or whatever the case is. That would be amazing. That would be that's pie in the sky. That
is a great point. That is a great point, especially with cosplay over 40, torn between I'm at the age where I actually can stop giving a shit because my wife's very happy, and just one shirtless Wolverine, just once, just to say I did. But no, I don't. You know, because I'm actually short and hairy, you know, so it actually works. I'm not Canadian. But like, you know, I want to see the fuzzy Wolverine like Burn drew him with tufts just coming in. So I was like, I could do that for folks. I'd never be invited to a con again, but you know.
Let me just say something. The one thing I will say, and I think we could all appreciate actually, because we're of a certain age, that there is something for everyone. And I will tell you actually, as someone who is, you know, we've been cosplaying, we have a certain amount of followers. You know the followers that you have, not to get into weird spaces, but let's actually know it's a good conversation to have. You have followers that basically are just going to point at you and be like, hey, you're a insert whatever sort of thing here. Let's say, for example, DILF or MILF or Zaddy or whatever the thing is, any of those things. And I will tell you, it has happened to me, and quite frankly, there's a part of me that's like, wow. There's a part of me that's like this, and then there's another part of me that's like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know that I actually. I don't think I fit that criteria. That's like, you really don't like. They're like, yeah, sure. Why don't you take some more whatever pictures? And I'm like, no, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
But
So,
obviously people do want to see it.
Well, obviously, that's what I'm saying. So, with that being the subject, and without getting into too many gross details, have you had any weird, interesting experiences in your cosplay life? You know, whether it's engagement through Instagram or through your social media or through TikTok or just in person. Just a short little story of one of those interactions that made you go, okay. I'm going to go with Danielle first.
It's kind of funny. I have two Instagram accounts. Mark, I actually follow you on my other one, Danielle M. Morsino. Yeah, I don't use that one as much anymore because I have my Harley pictures and my Catwoman pictures and my Black Canary pictures are there, and I don't use it as much anymore. I use my author account, Birth of the Fae, and I'm not actually on the cover of my fantasy novels in cosplay. So there's pictures of me as a mermaid, and my hair is really long, and mermaid, I don't wear shells. I wear a lot of hair, and so I've had, interactions about my mermaid pictures and things like that. People, Instagramming me, DMing me. I don't use my other account because I was getting a lot of people that were asking me to do Vampirella. Photographers asking me to do Vampirella a lot, and I was kind of like, I'm not going to a con dressed as Vampirella for obvious reasons. One, yes, I'm a person of a certain age, and I don't think people really wanted to see that. Also, I'm an author, so, I got to keep a certain image. But yeah, I would get certain pictures from them that I guess they thought would somehow make me want to dress for them in a certain way, and it would be pictures of their anatomy. You catch what I'm saying? So I stopped using that other account a lot, and I've transferred a lot of things over to my Birth of the Fae. So I find it funny that, I would get like photographers being like, oh, would you pose for me as Vampirella, or would you pose for me as Lady Death? And then they'd send me their picture like, here, I'll dress scantily too. And I'm like,
so they would
this ain't gonna want to make me pose,
So they would send you pictures of their socks, right? Just their socks. That's the only thing that they would send you pictures of, just their socks.
Yes,
so
that's the best way I could put it.
Like tube socks. Some of them were tube socks. Some of them are like the ankle socks. Just different variety of socks and feet.
And some of them are baby socks. And so I thought that was kind of funny. So I eventually moved away from using that other Instagram account. So, but then I get the opposite. Then I get people who are like, why are you dressing like this? Like, you're too old to be dressing like this. Why are you dressing? Then we get like the opposite. So it's kind of that ageism thing. I get some people that are like, would you pose for me? And, and here's some worthwhile motivation. And then you get the other people that are like, why are you dressing like this? You're too old to be running around in spandex. So I kind of find it funny. I don't know if the guys get the same response, or if you guys are getting like you said, the zaddy kind of, hey, be more Wolverine, let's get your shirts off. And the women, I think sometimes we get a little more, we either get the very sexually explicit stuff or we get critiqued. I find it to be kind of one way or the other. There's really no in the middle. I don't know. That's been my experience.
I think the ladies get that. I think the ladies get that overwhelmingly worse than the guys. And I couldn't imagine. If I get one, ooh, Dr. Doom from Wish, any lady I know gets 100-fold. So I don't even think it's close. Personally, I know all of my failings. So when I started cosplaying, I didn't show my face on Instagram for 2 years upon joining it, until Facebook merged with them and ruined it and gave everybody my real name. I didn't, excuse me. They had my real name because that's what I used. I was like, I'm too old for that shit. No cutesy names. But the point is, I was doing armors. I could build whatever my body shape wanted, whatever I wanted. So I'd never done like walking around in spandex. I only just like the other week posted a picture of myself in spandex. But if you notice that picture, it stops about right here. Because yeah, I tried to lose a little weight just in case I had to put it on, because for our Fantastic Four group. One of my guys just had, and again, cosplayers, we start our families, what have you. My Reed Richards just had a lovely little girl, and he can't make it to a Cradle Con that we're guesting at. So I reached out to a couple folks. We do have a different read on both days, but I was like, put up or shut up. So I had to make the costume based on myself and hope for the best. And I did a cos test, and I'd never worn spandex before because I don't feel that I'm comfortable with it. And I built armor and covered my face so that nobody could come at me that way. And that's me feeling that from the very beginning. Women on the medium, holy crap, the sea of awful that you have to swim through. I would actually rather you talk about it than even try to guess at that. But that's I headed that type of crap off at the pass for me. But I know there's no escaping it because it's a very visual medium, and the ladies always get the worst of it. They do.
I just want to add an editorial. Mark, you are an amazingly attractive man. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Please do not. You, sir, you are a good-looking man. You heard it here first, and you will continue to hear it as we go on.
I wasn't fishing. I appreciate that.
I know you were.
I appreciate that. But yeah, most of us are still very much living in our painful adolescence, and I got smacked with the puberty wand pretty hard. So I was a big-eared, gawky kid, and I don't feel. Look, you can see I do tease it on my Instagrams. I'll brazenly be like, you're a goddamn handsome man, But it's like that's there's a lot of insecurity tied into this hobby. Let's be very clear. When we see each other on Instagram, we're showing each other the best of ourselves. We're showing each other what we want to aspire to. That it's Victor Von Doom, okay, maybe I have some issues, but my point being, we show these idealized versions of ourselves. I wasn't doing that at the age that I was reading these comics. I was feeling these wonderful characters and coming home every day from a pretty, lonely at times existence. And I'd have a nice phone book sized pile of comics, and I could just lose myself and have a little peace for an afternoon. And that's what I like. This is my love letter to those times now. If I liked watching Alpha Flight, if I liked reading Alpha Flight, I'm going to make an Alpha Flight cosplay now. This is me throwing it back all those years and returning to it in a different way. Because again, now I got 50 years of lore to sort through. So I'm not really an avid collector anymore. I'm going back to when I was in the heat of it.
Awesome. How about, I know, Keith, you haven't been doing it for a very long time, but this runs the gamut. Any kind of interaction that you've had that you've sort of, especially coming in on the scene, that you've sort of given you some pause, anything like that that's occurred?
Yeah, well, I'm with Mark totally on that. The ladies get it far worse than the guys do, for sure. And I always cringe a little bit, even if I stop and I ask somebody that's in a really great costume for a picture. I'm very careful of the time the picture I take because it makes me feel weird taking that picture, right? But I'm also very supportive on the other side of that. I'm always trying to be very supportive and encouraging of any cosplayer, male or female, whatever they're wearing, whatever their body shape, because they had the confidence in themselves to put that suit on and come out in public. So if they look great, it doesn't matter screen accurate, handmade, missing a stitch, missing a button, in shape, out of shape, whatever it is, I'm all for it, and I try to give them that support and encouragement. So far, knock on wood, I haven't had anything bad happen to me. The closest I've got was an out of shape Doctor Who cosplayer made a comment about me and my spandex Superman and Lois costume, and I didn't really pay any attention to it. It just went right over my head because we were just sort of, I guess, chatting away, and he made some comment that I didn't catch, but a friend that was with me pointed it out after, and they were more critical of them giving me a hard time than where they shouldn't be coming from that that vision, right? Because they weren't necessarily in the best shape. Not that you have to be in great shape to be a Doctor Who cosplayer, but it's just still that support and encouragement was more my side of it. And when I saw them at another event a few weeks later, it was like we were just great friends again, right? No harsh feelings, but I haven't had that bad experience yet. Now, I don't know how I'd react if I got it. I'll either be very flattered because I try to keep in some kind of shape if I'm going to put spandex on, or I'll be weirded out. I won't know until it actually happens. So, but as the old saying goes, the superheroes never tell a lie because spandex exposes all truths, right? So, but that's why I've learned from other friends that I've met in the community to always be supportive and encouraging. So I always try to be that way to not make it weird for people. Like I had a friend that I met at a con who was taking pictures in a Star Trek captain's chair, and I snapped a great shot. They posted a different version that didn't look great, so I sent them the picture I took, and they loved it and threw it up on their Instagram like right away and thanked me profusely for the picture. And that was one of those ones that I wasn't even sure I wanted to show anybody, because it just, when I looked at it after taking it, I thought, I'm not sure if that's right. But because of that picture, we've become good friends through Instagram and other cons that we've met at since that picture. And it made me feel good that they liked the picture so much that they felt comfortable posting it. So it wasn't as weird as I thought, right? So it's still that learning curve for me, really. So.
Awesome, Anna. You got the now you've got to really wow us with your story. And I just want to make sure also before you come in, you're absolutely right. And part of the reason I wanted to bring up this topic is because yes, it is 100% disproportional how women are treated in cosplay. It is, to Mark's point, a very visual medium, so it is completely lopsided. But that being said, it is still, I don't want anybody to have the impression that it isn't something that happens also to men, because it does happen to men. The reality of the situation is, and it's not right. It doesn't matter actually what your gender identity is, what your age. It's you are not a piece of property or piece of meat to just sort of be oogled at, and that was the main thing. So with that sort of caveat being put out there, Anna, what any fun or weird stories you want to tell us?
Well, I think one thing that we have to unfortunately bear in mind is that a lot of the comic book artists are male. I mean, there are more and more female, but we have to also take into account how the characters are drawn. And you're not going to see any superheroes in like just baggy coveralls and slouching around in sweats. Wonder Woman's in her tight corset. She-Hulk is in her tight, different sporty outfits. Even Catwoman is in her cat suit. Everyone is kind of drawn to appeal to the male comic book purchaser. And if we want to cosplay those characters as canon as we can towards those characters, then that's part of the package, is to be prepared for any kind of commentary. And how to deflect it starts to become an art, because as Danielle pointed, we do get a lot of sock pictures sent to us. Richard photography. And I know through my insights that 80% of my followers are male 18 to 35. And then there's that little teeny percent of older male and the rest female. And it is what it is. I try to embrace, not physically, but everyone who wants to follow me, who feels that my cosplays are good enough to follow, to watch, to inspire. Made many friends and friendships here, either through my own cosplaying or through Cosplay Over 40. But there are many times that for weeks and weeks I'll post pictures of cosplays that are dear to me, like Pippi Longstocking, yeah, hardly gets any likes. Dr. Briefs, yeah, hardly gets any likes. And then boom, Power Girl, and it's like 400 likes. Gee, I wonder why. I guess the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, and I do get a lot of proposals and won't you meet up with me, and little pictures of wedding rings, like they really want to send me a ring. But I guess the most interesting photo request was from someone who wanted me to just be Wonder Woman, any Wonder Woman of my choice, as long as she was sitting on the lavatory. And I was like, block, delete, bye. But that's pretty much the topper of my interesting fan tales. Usually everyone's really polite and no, heart, flower, 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 heart, flower, flower. But yeah, there's some interesting ones out there.
Yeah, that is. I'm not. The internet never disappoints. The internet never disappoints. Never, ever, ever. But I actually, something that was touched upon on this conversation right now with this, that I really would love to hear from you guys is, how do you break through the stigma of, that cosplay being a medium, that's a visual medium. And obviously I would say same applies to TV, same applies to modeling. It seems to be an idea that there's a shelf life, that you have to, if you're doing this, you only have until this age to do it. After this age, you're not actually, you're not, you do something else. You can't do this because you're this age. This age is actually, this is allowed only for this age.
Right?
How do you break through? Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you guys break through the stigma of that, and how do you, how do you address it if it does come up? If you do have anybody that does, engage in that fashion to say, "Oh, you're too old for this. You're over 40. What are you doing? Why are you doing?" And this includes friends and family too, because sometimes that's our worst critics sometimes are our family, or just sort of like, yeah, why are you still doing this kind of thing? How do you break through that? I'll start with Keith actually this time.
Oops, always me, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Gee, I hate to say it, but I've been very, very fortunate. Everybody around me, family, friends, coworkers, the other cosplayers that I've met, everybody's been really good. So very supportive of the choice. One of my coworkers wants me to. I guess my coworker falls into the last question. Really, they want to see me in some of the X-Men stuff, like in the Wolverine, the black leather from Wolverine and things like that. But it's like, but everybody's been very, very supportive, very encouraging. The hardest time I get is when I have to keep my glasses on so I can see when I'm walking around. And I just always comment about kryptonite in the air conditioning, in the air system. That's why I got to wear the glasses when I'm walking around the shows. But so far for me, everybody's been very, 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 very supportive and encouraging. So I can't speak to having to have that long discussion about why I'm doing it or defending my actions. So I guess I'm lucky that way.
Cool, Anna. And you talked a little bit about what you experienced when you saw, or what you didn't see when you were going to conventions, and how you had certain people getting pictures and other people sort of being relegated to being like, yeah, your cosplay is cool, but go over there. Like,
Right.
what's been your take on it, and how have you been able to respond to it?
Well, at first I was, kind of angry. I mean, underneath it all, I'm still a little angry that people actually feel that because we reach a certain age, we have to stop doing what we enjoy and love. Because to me, that's totally wrong. And that's really part of the driving force between cosplay over 40 is, hey, you know what? We're over 40 and look at us, you know, we're better than you actually. So there, yeah. It's one of the reasons that we ask people why they cosplay, to help inspire those who are just kind of watching us and really would like to, but they're afraid because they think they're too old. So seeing why people cosplay for all the different reasons that they are cosplaying at our age is important to me, and that's why we include that on our page. I tried reasoning to people thinking, you know what? If I explain to them that, gosh, these fandoms existed when I was a kid and I just want to like appreciate and show my love for my fandom, but yeah, they're like, talk to the hand, goodbye, bye, whatever. So at this point, I either just laugh it off or I hit delete, or I was like, you know what? You do what you love, and if you don't like it, that's on you. Sorry. But the few actual really verbal haters who have actually insulted me, well, I kind of just screenshot them and then I put it in the story and I go, look what this person said, cosplay is for everyone, and let people take it from there, because, you know, no one should really be put down because, hey, I am 60 years old and I want to cosplay Barbarella. Hey, you know what? Barbarella was popular back when you were a kid, so go for it. Who knows, you know? I just don't like, but the other thing is, there's also reverse ageism sometimes. You know, you're too young to be playing Dumbledore. What the heck do you think, kid? Shouldn't you be doing Harry Potter? But no, again, it goes both ways. Cosplay is for all ages, regardless of what the character is that you want to cosplay. I want to do Powerpuff Girls. Hey, they're kindergartners. So what? If you don't like my Powerpuff Girl, oh well, then don't like the picture.
No, that's very true. Actually, very, very true. And Danielle, what about your experience? What was it? What's it been like?
Overall, I mean, I've had good experiences. I've had only one photographer who liked a Harley and wanted me to work with him, and then he found out my age and literally was like, "You're way too old," and it told me flat out. He was just like, and it was a phone conversation, and he was just like, "I'm really looking for somebody younger," and he was like, "You know, the white makeup is just not forgiving, and it'll show everything." And I was like, "Okay, you know, what was I gonna say? You're saying I'm old." Okay, you know, I don't want to work with you anyway. It just came down to like, all right, there's other people who I'll work with. And that was it. But then again, I look at it like this. I was just at GalaxyCon Richmond 2 months ago, 3 months ago almost. And Dan Jurgens tapped me on the shoulder. I was dressed as Harley. I was walking out and I kind of did a little bit of a Harley, you know, from Arkham Asylum. And I was walking out and he tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around and he was like, "That's an awesome Harley." He's like, "And I should know." He's like, "I've drawn her a couple times." And I looked at him, I was like, "Yeah, that's wow, thank you. That's a compliment coming from you." He goes, "Oh, I know." And he turned around and just walked away. And my friend was like, "Who was that?" I was like, and I was still just stunned. So I'm like, and I was like, when you got somebody like that saying you look good as Harley, who cares what one pig-headed photographer thinks? You know, I don't care. And I was just like, whatever. And I just kind of kept walking. And then I was dressed as Firestar on Saturday. And I had a bunch of little girls come up going, "Oh my God, Angelica Jinx." And I'm like, "You're 12. How do you even know Firestar, you know, Firestar and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends?" And they were like, "It used to be on Hulu, but then I moved to Disney." And they gave me a whole thing on her. And they were like, when she melted oh my God, when she melted the little dollhouse, that was so great. And Bonnie was so mean to her. They were going through the whole episode. And I'm standing there and they were like, they loved the costume. And I'm like, no, that's why you do it. You know, it's moments like this. So if somebody wants to say I'm too old to be doing it, who cares? I'm on the cover of my own books. My publisher was like, "You cosplayed so well, we're going to put you on the cover." I'm on the cover. What do I care? You want to think I'm old? Psst, they make Botox. I can do just fine. I can cosplay for this. There's a gym down the street. There's Botox. There's Restylane. And there's wigs. I can do this all day, guys. Don't worry about it. So, you know, how old is Spider-Man? How old is Batman? They've been around 50 some odd years. You can do this all day, boys and girls. I don't care. I'm good with it.
And that's the amazing thing about cosplay in that regard is that you're right. These are characters that have existed for so long. And the fact that there are people who still feel that they have to gatekeep it, that they have to be like, oh no, you can't. And don't get me wrong, I feel like everybody has their own style of cosplay. I would never begrudge anybody for cosplaying anything actually of where age is concerned. Now, me myself, I have my own sort of like things that I'm like, I don't want to cosplay this because I don't know that I would really fit the aesthetic. Well, as much as I may love Miles Morales, for example, I'm like, to me, it's just sort of like, personally for me, anybody else wants to do it, cool. Me personally, I'm like, no. But what I would do is I probably would take a post-apocalyptic Miles Morales, a weathered, gray-bearded Miles Morales who's been through the ringer. Absolutely, I would do that. Or a different version. Actually, I did actually do that a while back. I did a version of Miles Morales that sort of looked like Nick Fury, but it was basically Miles years later, just completely tore down. His eye is gone. He's wearing an eye patch. He's wearing like camouflage, jeans. He still has his suit, but I did that version because that was a version that I was like, conceptually, I was just like, this is a cool version I'd like to do. Is just a weathered Miles Morales. What does that look like years from now? What would he, what would that interpretation look like? And I love actually that you could do that with cosplay, that it doesn't have to be relegated to just this one particular version. One thing that I do love about what's happening now, specifically with like the MCU and even actually with the DC universe right now, is that you have different versions of a character all coalescing in a universe. And guess what? They're all different ages. So guess what? What does that say? Continuity tells you that is in continuity. You can have somebody who is Michael Keaton on one side and Ben Affleck on the other, and they are two different ages. Or you can have a stepping sort of like, you could have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and also I'm freezing on his name.
Tom
Holland. Huh?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. You could have Tom Holland. You could have three Spider-Men, three different ages, and they are all canon. That's the amazing, beautiful thing about it. That's why when it comes to cosplay, same exact thing. Your version of that particular character is your version of that character. Nobody can take that away from you and say, oh no, that's not, you're too old for this, or you're too young for this, or whatever the case is. Absolutely not, because you can think in terms of a multiverse. Not that you have to justify it, but you can just say, hey, I'm this version of Superman, for example. Kingdom Come Superman is very iconically a salt and pepper temple version of the character, a older Superman. And and Superman overall is a timeless character. Superman has never not been a fatherly type character. So to relegate it to be like, oh, you could only play this if you're this guy. Well, no, you can if doesn't matter what your age is, because everybody has a life cycle. You go through birth all the way to death and everything in between. So there shouldn't be any restriction on that. So I'm filibustering here. Mark, what about you? Any gatekeeping ever come across your way, or anybody that said, hey, Mark, no, not so much to you?
I've lived a pretty blessed cos life, I guess. There are some sharp corners to this hobby, but those particular ones, I don't have to navigate a lot of the stuff. Oh, you're this color, so you can't play this one. Oh, women can't do this. Oh, you're showing too much. I foresaw people being shitty. I foresaw it. So I played to my strengths, which was cover yourself completely. If you look at my early cosplays, you can't see Mark at all. My dream cosplay was Guardian from Alpha Flight in the last 10 seconds of his life. Levi, Mr. Abs Fitness, we're talking. He's like, dude, why aren't you doing that? And I said, I didn't know if I had this. And he's like, shut up. That's your next one. That's what you're doing. So that changed, after that, because he got so excited of the idea of me doing it, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I hear you. So then I started to get more comfortable, especially online. I had anticipated throwing this stuff up online because remember, I also didn't, from 2012 to 2017, I didn't post my cosplays anywhere. I just wore them to cons. When I put everything online, I fully expected the internet to pour forth its wrath upon me. That didn't happen. People really liked it. The worst I've ever gotten is, oh, I didn't know Dr. Doom was so short. Okay, I started building lifts into all my stuff. And the guy that said it didn't even, I don't think he was even trying to be insulting. He may have just been trying to do some banter. We have, again, a lot of us in the comic book or geek world are not that great on social interaction. Sometimes cosplay can help with that. Sometimes you just got a guy who might be trying to start a conversation with you, does it in the worst possible way. Didn't even know they were flicking that nerve. But I was like, screw it. Built foam lifts. Kill my feet now. Just so I can get a couple extra inches from that comment. It was an offhand comment, but again, it got me. So, I've never looked at it as an age thing because I started when I was 37. I already had my children. My wife, I started it because I needed it, because I went to school for theater, and over time, I always knew there was no issue with my talent, but I couldn't be going to cattle calls and doing the stuff I do and raising a family. So I switched out of that, but I had a creative need that wasn't being met, and that's very soul killing. And when I found cosplay, I found that creative need again. So I really don't give a shit what anybody says. You can't stop me because I just build. And as long as I'm building and doing exactly what I want, and now, as Danielle said, I don't need 50K people liking my shit. I need Walt Simonson liking my Thor. I need John Byrne looking at my Guardian and John Byrne going, that's a lot of work. When I just need the one or two people who meant a lot to me as a kid. Now they see my stuff and then, they're clapping and cheering and following. And these are my heroes. Those are the folks that matter to me. I love the cosplay community, the people that I've met through it. It's lovely. I've had nothing but, I've had a lovely time by and large. I hope to keep it going, and you'll bury me in my Dr. Doom outfit. So I don't know. Bless. I've been lucky to have it, and again, I can't be stopped. So again, that's my supervillain in me. I'm just going to keep doing it. That's what I got. Next.
So that's amazing that you were that is a supervillain sort of. You can't be stopped. You refuse to be stopped. That sounds like world dominating energy right there, and I am 100% here for it. I am here for that big D energy that you're giving off right now. Cosplay over 40 means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, obviously, and we talked about our fandoms, we talked about breaking stigmas, we talked about dream cosplays. I guess actually just to cap off as a last question to you guys, is there a venture or a kind of a venue that you have not hit up yet that you would love to be a part of? Whether it's a convention, whether it's a platform of any sort, like anything actually that you would like to sort of dip your toe into. Like some people are big now into, like me myself, I've never gotten into it, but TikTok. Some people are really great on that. Some people want to travel more and hit up more cons, do more panels similar to this. Anything actually that you guys would love to do, or maybe actually are in the plans already of doing, that you guys would like to talk about? Now's your time to plug yourself. So I'm going to start off with Mark. I'm going to start off where we left off last. We're going to go with Mark.
It's kind of, I would love to go to every con under the sun. I'd go to the opening of an envelope if I could. for me, cosplay over 40 is, again, and I said this in the private chat, it's not about spraining my back getting into a costume. It's not about, am I getting a little rotund to put on spandex? It's, for me, it's about time. It's about my responsibilities to my family and being away on a weekend. Like, I have to pick and choose my targets. We all do. Our time is valuable. So there's just stuff that I won't abide by and anymore. There's you got to respect yourself. You got to be your biggest fan. I would love to go to everything under the sun. I'd like to try out. I've heard, nice things about KatsuCon. I think I would rather go to a con that's rife full of artists and writers and not just other cosplayers, because my joy is seeing people who've read the same stuff I do and going ballistic. That's the fun for me. I would love to go to the West Coast and see some of my cosplay consiglieres over there and see people at San Diego Con. I'd like to go to all of the cons. My success now, like you said earlier about what does your family think? Like, I always assumed they thought I was an idiot about it. And sometimes, they're like, well, what do you do, Mark? Are you making any money off it? I'm like, no, that's not why I do it. I'm never going to sell a headshot of myself at a con on a table. That's not my style. Cause I don't want to do that. I want to have peers. I don't want to, have people coming over and to kiss the ring. I want to be your peer. I don't want to be a hanger-on, and I don't expect that. You're either my peer or you're not. And I want to wrap this up so everybody can talk too. But I had a thought, and now it's floating away on the air. Another thing about being over 40. But again, it's about balancing your time. My success that I measure. Do I get a share site once in a while? Well, first of all, over 40 cosplays. Has a wonderful round robin way of doing it where everyone gets a moment, and AMH should definitely elaborate on that, because a lot of the share sites, it's very hard. I feel like a lot of them have dried up of late because they're personal sites. At the end of the day, they're personal sites. So if people have their favorites, they put in a lot of work sorting through thousands of pictures. And if the eyes, as we know from our demographics, if the eyes are on 100 Mary Jane bikinis, that's how you're going to drive traffic to your site, so you can show the one armor dude or something. Okay, that's perfectly cool. AMH has a really great formula that is unique to all of the share sites, where everybody gets a nice round robin time. They even ping you when your time's coming up. It's awesome. And I hope she talks about that. My success otherwise is measured in what money I don't spend. If I get a panel at New York Comic Con, that's 4 days now that I don't have to spend the absurd amount of money. I'm going to be a guest at CradleCon next week. Midtown Comics just asked my Fantastic Four team to do a photo shoot with them this Wednesday to celebrate Fantastic Four 700 coming out. So I've been working like a freaking dog trying to get all the costumes in order for that. And then I want to sleep for a very long time. We've been asked to come in with Levi and guest at Brooklyn Comic Con, so I'll be there on a Saturday. Nice things are happening. I hope to just keep that going. I hope to see all of you and get to know you more. And if I don't know you well, I hope to say hi and just hang out. We just want to have fun. We want to get dressed up and have some fun. That's enough out of me.
Well said, and actually amazing. Anna? Any endeavors you want to try out, or anything or conventions you want to attend?
Well, to be honest, I've pretty much stuck to where close to home is, because I've got kids, I've got chickens, I've got things that need my attention that I can't be away for too long, and that kind of cuts into where I can go, because gosh, we want to go to a con in Florida, and gosh, well, okay, the kids are now old enough to kind of be on their own, but someone's got to take care of the chickens and the ducks. The ducks are stupid. But we are starting to slowly expand from where we're going. I mean, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we're actually going to be at Enchantment Con in Florida, where I've been graciously asked to be a guest, which I think is, wow, great. Hoping to get a few more cons and slowly go around the country. The husband and I have actually discussed multiple times that when the kids are finally out of the house, we'll get ourselves an RV and we'll just drive around the country and go to cons, and he'll take pictures of people, and we'll just have a great time getting to meet and know everybody. So that's in the future. Not too old to cosplay, but we're just going to go around in our RV, and hey, you never know if you see this RV being driven by One Punch Man, and that's us. But gosh, for my personal, I would love to get out to California and meet up with that California San Francisco crew. I was actually out there in January, and I was supposed to be Emma Frost in their Marvel shoot. But I was there with my teenager who is a lover of cons, but when he is not in cosplay, don't put him near people. So we had to beg off of that shoot, which I still regret to this day. And I still hope to get out there for another shoot with Beth and the gang out there. So that's my personal thing. Going to cons, talking about cosplay over 40. And just meeting a lot of people. As for Cosplay Over 40, we hope to keep growing and getting more people involved. A lot of people think that they can't cosplay because they've got something that they bought at Target, or they don't think that wearing regular clothes because their character is on a TV show and is a detective who wears regular clothes. It's all cosplay. It's all in here. You just have to take a deep breath and do that first big step and go for it, and you'll find out how addictive it is and how you'll have to kind of slowly put your winter things out of your closet to make room for it, and then slowly look at your significant other's closet and go, you're not using that shelf. And gosh, maybe I should take over the crafting playroom upstairs and use that for my cosplay stuff too. And yeah, it grows and grows and grows. So getting that under control, I guess, is a future plan, because I don't get rid of any of my cosplays, and I've got 150 that are currently active and a couple of dozen that are waiting to be reactivated. We do have plans for Cosplay Over 40 for the future, but that's kind of like still in here trying to figure out how we're going to do. We do want to expand our YouTube, and someone got to play with that Melon app a lot lately and is hoping that we can grow from there and do things like this, interviewing people that we have featured. And of course, I'd just start going down the list to make sure everyone got a turn, because again, it's only fair that everyone gets their moment in the spotlight, not just, hey, we featured you last week and we're going to feature you this week, and oh, do you have anything for us for next week? That's not fair. Everyone gets a turn. So that's my piece. Thanks.
That is awesome. Danielle, how about you? Anything for the future?
Right now, I have another author friend of mine, C.R. Rice. So we're talking about doing actually a cosplay calendar together of our literary characters, since she does like dystopian YA and I do fantasy. So we're talking about maybe doing some kind of cosplay literary together and doing a calendar like that. So that's what we're talking about. And then I'm actually contracted with GalaxyCon to continue going to all of them for the rest of the year as part of Pop-Up Bookshop, but they also asked me to cosplay. So Harley, a different version of Harley, will be showing up at the rest of the GalaxyCons. The next one is Raleigh at the end of July, and then they're doing Austin for the first time, and then we'll be back at Columbus. So I'll continue doing those. But I would love to get a bunch of the over 40 cosplay crowd and do some kind of photo shoot just to show that we're all here, we're proud, and we've got it, and we're still kind of doing it. And hopefully I'll be back at New York Comic Con, because I used to live in New York and I've moved down to Charlotte. So I have not been back at New York Comic Con in about a year. So I'd like to kind of be back there and be back to the normal crowd and kind of see all my cosplay friends. So that's what I'd like to see and what I'd like to have planned in the next year or so.
Awesome. And certainly not least, Keith, what about you? What do you have?
Oh, well, thanks. You guys are all so amazing and inspiring. So I'm just very honored to be hanging with you guys tonight. So thank you very much for that. Anna flattered me by letting me be part of that rotation on Cosplay Over 40. So I'm happy with that too. Love that site. Love all the pictures that I see popping up on my Instagram feed. My plans myself, I get some photo shoots done now that I'm feeling comfortable wearing the suit more often. So I can do more things like that, because there's another charity endeavor that I came across called Cosplay Cards, where they do trading cards. And they do a little. They're on, I think, series 5 or 6 now, and you submit your shot, and they turn it into a trading card, and then they put out the whole set of all they get, and it's just all the money goes to a good cause. The guy behind it is just an amazing guy. I met him at Fan Expo in Toronto last year, and he's just a really great guy, and just his head and his heart are in the right place for that. Myself. Other things, get to more cons, bigger cons farther away. New York cons, C2E2, the Holy Grail of San Diego. The bigger ones, because I've stayed very close to home. Something only within a couple hours of where I'm at. And then, like I said earlier in the call, try and do more charity things, blood donor clinics, Crime Stoppers. Get into the sick kids hospitals, do those things, maybe get to some parties. A lot of the cosplay people that I've met are doing those kinds of things. So I'm making the right connections that'll hopefully lead to that. Because I really want to just, like I said before, get out and give back to the community. So.
I mean, that is amazing.
That's me.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And that's amazing that kind of work and that you can pivot it in your cosplay in something that you already love to give to a greater good and a bigger whole. That's phenomenal. This has been a fantastic conversation. You guys are so easy to talk to. I mean, I could sit here all day just listening to of your Dawson tones. I mean, you guys are just amazing. Last thing before we go, actually, and before we cap it off, I would love for the opportunity for you guys to tell the audience, where can we find you? Where can we find these amazing cosplays? Tell me your TikToks, your Instagrams, your Facebooks, your MySpace pages. Yes, MySpace still exists, believe it or not. Your let's see, Pigeon Route, whatever. Go. This is your chance. Promote yourselves. Treat yourself. Starting with Danielle.
You can find me on Instagram at birthofthefae_novel. That is my author one, but all my literary cosplays are up there. And then you can also find me at Danielle M. Orsino, Orsino, and those are all my DC cosplays. Those are all up there. Just don't send me any sock pics. I'll be nice about it, but I just won't look at them, so I'll delete them. But other than that, those are the places where you can find me.
She'll find out who your mom is and send them to your mom if you send her.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Or yeah. I will send you it's called Ship a Dick, and you will get a dick back.
Yeah.
You see, I get even. It's really bad.
I've actually considered an endeavor. This is a complete side note, and this is probably not for the podcast, but whatever. We're here. We're friends. We know each other.
Yeah,
I've considered perhaps creating an app that allows people to go ahead and put socks into this app, and then you can go ahead and it's a catalog, and that way you can go ahead and share said catalog with the people that have sent it to you and be like, here is where you rank in these right here. And it would be a rigged system, because it would always make it seem like their socks are too dirty or too crumbly or too crusty or too, or very, very small socks. They're all very, very small. Very small socks.
I've discovered a beautiful site called Shippity that's anonymous, and you can glitter debomb them anonymously. Nice. And I have found that is my best revenge on things, and it is the greatest site known to mankind.
I feel like that whoever had that idea,
fine glitter. And it comes in a big cardboard box.
Ship them a dirty a How's that? Just ship them a dirty,
the greatest thing.
Nasty sock. Yeah. Yes.
Vengeance is mine.
Vengeance.
And Mark, you can use it, because that seems like a villainous thing to do. So you can borrow that.
It was probably Mark's company. It's probably Mark who's doing it right now.
It probably is. And they never find out who it's from, and it's the greatest thing ever.
Damn it! I'm sorry.
I have many layers and shell companies leading back to my web.
Yeah. I've said too much.
Any good supervillain does, Mark. So.
Yeah. All right. So, Mark, actually, since you jumped in, where can we find you?
As I said, my team, the NYC_Fantastic4, will be hosting CradleCon next week, both days. I've got two lovely folks stepping in for our regular Reed and Sue, who are I've been a fan of Alana Blue Skies for many years. I took a grainy picture with her in Doom Phase 1 that's embarrassed. I would never put it on now. And she was this beautiful Brunhilde the Valkyrie from the Defenders. She was doing deep cut, and I adored it. And I finally have been blessed to cosplay with her because she's our regular Sue Storm, but she can't be there. So my buddy codename Citadel stepped in as Sue. And we have a lovely bunch. We're going to have some new cosplays to unveil, and we're going to be at CradleCon at the Garden in Garden City in Long Island, Cradle of Aviation Museum. They also have an entire floor of video games that you can play, retro arcade games. And I've instructed the team to keep me away from them so I don't play Golden Axe all day. And like I said, I'll be at Brooklyn. I'll be around. I'm on Instagram. I've put all my eggs in one basket. I deleted TikTok because I didn't like it. And I'm a grumpy old man. Twitter's like trying to piss in the ocean. So you can find me on Instagram. I don't travel very far. And that's really it. And come see me at a con. Take pictures with me. I love battle photos. I love taking photos with everybody. And, I love giving build advice if you need any. I mean, don't just go to me because, I'm an idiot. But, I can at least give you an idea or something if I help you. That's the stuff I'm doing. And like I said, I've been focused on Instagram. It's where I've had the most success. And I don't see myself blowing up on any other internet thing.
Can you tell me that? Can you repeat that name of where we can find you on Instagram, please? That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, sure. So the day they were handing out all the funny Instagram names, they ran plumb out. So it's just Mark MARC.Kandel KANDEL. Real exciting stuff.
I mean,
that's my ego. That's my ego creeping, and I'm like, yeah, that's who did it, me.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Keith, what about you? Where can we find you?
Oh, well, thank you. The main place to find me is on Instagram. So London_Superman is the main place. I post toys, unboxings, cons, charity events, anything that I do there. I don't really do that much on Facebook anymore. Got rid of my Twitter when the ownership changed. And I'm trying to get a YouTube channel going, doing more. The unboxings and all that, but that's really, I'm sort of still learning the ways around that one. But so the main place to find me is on Instagram. So
cool. And certainly not least, Anna, where can we find you?
My personal account on Instagram is AMH Cosplays. I have no idea what my husband just did there. But AMH Cosplays on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I also have my dedicated account, A2MI for Ann Arbor, Michigan, A2MI Wonder Woman, that is also across all the platforms. And for those who are Dragon Ball nuts, Bulma Briefs USA across all the platforms. But the one that I spend many hours a day on is Cosplay Over 40. One word, cosplay comes first because we put cosplay first. Cosplay Over 40. On all media again too, because I spend my life on social media when I'm not doing laundry.
And I will say actually that for you guys running it, a two-person operation, I will tell you that you guys are doing God's work when it comes to running Cosplay Over 40, because that is, for the amount of features that you guys handle and specials and videos, all of that stuff, I will tell you that is 100%. We're not worthy. We are not worthy. We are not worthy. You guys have all been so freaking amazing. I will just cap off by saying
I'm sorry. I know we're running out of a little time. I saw some prompts. Do we have time for any viewer questions?
Do we have any viewer questions? I don't know if we do. Do we? Let me see. Actually, we can take a look and see, because I thought I was watching the stream to see. I didn't see any questions. I saw Beth.
I don't think anyone asked. I think they
Yes.
were just saying if you wanted to open the floor to it.
Oh, I did actually. I did open up the floor to it. Actually, that was me. I had opened the floor to it. I was hoping actually we would get some questions, but maybe not. Maybe we covered so much that there was no questions left. Nothing needed to be asked. So for me, you can find me at Dominican Night. Dominican Night Cosplay on Facebook, Dominican Night. If you look up Dominican Night, you're gonna find the homeless stuff. Maybe a couple of public record things. Maybe some stuff with the law. I mean, it's all gonna be there. It's all in the internet. It's all there. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. Except for that episode of America's Most Wanted, or no, Unsolved Mysteries. That one you can skip. You don't want to watch Robert Stack in his creepy. No, he wasn't creepy. The song was creepy. Can we agree to that? Can we agree that the intro to Unsolved Mysteries was a creepy intro? Like that's just me.
Creepy.
Just to me, that would give me goosebumps every time I would watch that show. Just a bit.
But Robert Stack was Ultra Magnus, so
Yeah,
he's good with me.
That's true. That is true. That is true. Anywho, so thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been an amazing conversation. We will be back again next week, but I won't be hosting. Someone else will be hosting next week. That'll be a mystery. Maybe not. It's not a mystery. It'll be.
It's me.
Yeah, she's the problem. It's her. Thank you very much, everyone here. Have an amazing evening, an amazing weekend. Thank you again so much for being a part of this and being a part of this conversation. You guys are freaking awesome. I love you all.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, and if I don't follow you now, I've been following you for a while. I'm just letting you know. All right. Have a fantastic time. I'm ending the stream. You guys are lovely. Keep being awesome.